it. I want it again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open Source Friday, the show where we talk to maintainers about the apps that we're maintaining. I'm Kadesha, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Thank you so much for joining the stream. We have a super exciting show in store for you today. At least I think it's going to be exciting. And I'm really happy that you love the music. So all the videos that you just saw, they're made by our wonderful video team here at GitHub, and they just get us really hyped, really excited for Copilot SDK. I would love to know in the chat where you're joining from. I see Peru, I see India, I see how do you pronounce that? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Forgive me. But I would love to know where you're joining from. I see Cassidy in the chat. Welcome to the stream. Hey, yo. But today we're going to have a really great chat with Nathan Brake from Mozilla.ai, and he's going to be telling us all about any-llm. And I cannot wait to learn about, from what I understand, so any-llm is a single API to talk to any LLM. I know it's kind of like self-explanatory, but I'm gonna pop Nathan up on the screen so he can tell us more about the project. Hey Nathan,
Hi,
welcome.
Kadesha. Thanks. Happy to be here. Yeah,
What a
any
great
LLM is what happens.
explanation.
It's what happens when you let an engineer name something. We're not known for our, extreme creativity with names.
Yes.
So any
Yes.
LLM is what happens.
A single API to talk to any LLM. When I said it just now, I was like, I can't believe that's what I wrote down in my notebook to say.
But I mean,
yeah,
you got it perfectly right. Yeah, any LLM is just what it sounds. It's one interface that lets you talk to every LLM and provider specifically. I think sometimes if it's, like GPT models, it's a little bit straightforward of like, you want to talk to GPT, you're going to talk to the OpenAI provider or maybe like
Nice.
Azure or something.
Nice.
But there's a lot of different options for some of these open weight models. If it's a Mistral model, for example, you could talk to it hosted by Mistral. You could host it yourself. You could, run it through Azure, I think offers Mistral as well, or you could run it locally. Like there's so many options that any LLM's designed to help kind of enable that choice.
Yeah, but before we get into that, I would love to learn more about you. And I see in the audience we have Brazil, você fala español un poquito solamente. Hi, Jamaica. I'm Jamaican. Welcome. What's your name? Welcome to the stream. Yay, Kadesha. I know, hanging on by a thread. India. But yes, welcome everyone. So Nathan Brake from Mozilla.ai, tell us, who are you and how long have you been a machine learning engineer?
Thanks. Yeah, a little bit about me. So I am based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Go Steelers, sports, and all that. Uh, and I've been at Mozilla AI for about a year. Yeah, shout out to Anushree for helping get this all going together. I've been in machine learning. I got a master's degree in machine learning from Georgia Tech. And I don't know if it's a joke or not, but I submitted my last assignment the week before ChatGPT came out. And I just remember I had submitted everything and I was done with classes. ChatGPT came out and I put my final homework into ChatGPT to see if it could solve it. And then it like solved it immediately. And I was just like, oh boy,
Whoa.
everything is different now. Like
Yeah.
I did homework when homework was hard, I guess. I don't know, like it's a different world now.
I,
Yeah, that's when
I
I
mean,
got started. Yeah.
yeah, I love that we had a chance to actually do the homework now, right? Because one of my main concerns, especially with like junior engineers, is how are they using coding assistants and how are we teaching them to use coding assistants? Are they actually going to do the homework so they understand why ChatGPT was able to solve it in that manner? Or is it just going to be like, well, there's the answer. I don't need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different world and it's also kind of the same. Like I think there's
Mm,
a famous tweet that caught on, I think it was Grady Booch or somebody that posted it, but software has always been about rising levels of abstraction. And I
yes.
my undergrad degree was electrical engineering, and I had to take and my first test in one of those classes was on assembly language. And
Yes.
hopefully most of you don't know how to write assembly because people don't write assembly anymore because we have abstractions to handle that. And I think AI assisted coding can be it's different, but it has some similarities of like it's a rising level of abstraction that we can figure out how to use and how to
Yeah.
build really cool stuff from it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I even posted this morning on LinkedIn about, like stock coding has been dying since 1959 because we had COBOL, we had Visual Basic, WordPress, and no code, the outsourcing, low code platforms, AI code generators, GitHub Copilot when it launched. And it was just like, oh my goodness, what is this?
Yeah,
And now we have vibe coding. But it's just like with each level of abstraction, it becomes easier, it becomes faster to build and we need more programmers than ever, I think, with each level of abstraction because it becomes
yeah,
easier to build and to program.
yeah.
Um,
And we need to come together to figure out how to do it right. I think that's the
yes,
key. Like we're all learning. It's moving so fast that we're all trying to learn
yes.
together. And that was exciting about like you guys interviewed Claudebot, the creator, last week. And I thought that was so fun to see how much that's taken off in the past week and how everyone is learning real time because
Hmm.
it went from zero to everybody was trying it so quick
I know.
that we're all like, how does this work? How risky is this? Did I just, give it my social security number accidentally? Like we're all learning together. And I think it's an
Yeah,
exciting time to be in the software world.
I think so too. And so let's bring it back to any LLM. um, tell us tell us about any LLM, right? And tell us also about how did Mozilla AI, why did Mozilla AI create any LLM?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's good to take a step back to explain what Mozilla AI is first, because this is probably
Hmm.
the most common question that we get, which is like, oh, you work for Mozilla AI, how is Firefox doing? And it's
Mm,
completely understandable because we share the same name in a way. But Mozilla AI is actually like a separate division in the pan Mozilla ecosystem. So we are not building features specifically for Firefox. We're building features to help to bring choice into the world of AI. So something that we're building now is the choice first stack, which is just about every layer of AI usage. If that's agents or talking to LLMs, we want to empower everybody to be able to choose what LLM they want to use and where they want to use it. And that's really what any LLM is about. And that's how it came to be because we were at the beginning of last year, we were building a product. And as many people do, the first integration they wrote was OpenAI to talk to OpenAI servers. And then we
mhm,
thought, oh, it would be great if we added support for Mistral. And then we wrote
mhm.
it was almost the same thing, but there was one little tweak that made it different. And then we're like, I know, we should do Anthropic. And guess what? Anthropic is almost the same, but a little different. And then before you know it, you have all these little tweaks to make each provider work. And then you look around and you see everyone has sort of copied the same code. Like
Yes.
everybody is like re-implementing it, which is, it's a great reason to need a library.
Yes.
And there are libraries already out there that help to support this goal of like, a library to share how to access different providers. But something that we wanted to approach with any-llm was specifically leveraging the SDKs, the software developer kits that the providers already produce. So my background is C++, and in C++ you have a compiler where if you try to pass an integer into an argument that's supposed to be a string, it throws an error before you even build the thing. And it says, hey, stop right there, go no farther, you've made a mistake, this is not gonna work. Python, they're like, it'll be nice if you type stuff, but go for it. And it kind of becomes a problem when then you it's not easy to see unless you add specific features to your basic Python implementation to see what is going to go wrong before you try it out. And a great thing about most of these providers is that they give you SDKs where they supply types for you, which then in Python lets you know before you try it if something's broken. So then one of the things which I could tangent on for a while is the APIs of how we talk to LLMs. And there's the chat completion standard, which is how historically over the past year, everybody talks to LLMs over the chat completion API, but they all add their little things. And unless you're using the provider SDK, you don't know about those little things until you try it or read their documentation.
Read the docs.
Yeah, read the docs, which, yeah, I don't like to read the docs too much. I like to try. I've assembled many IKEA furniture incorrectly from trying not to use the instructions and just seeing what I could figure out. But all I have to say, what we wanted to do was use each of those provider SDKs to give this one interface to access every provider, but have as little logic on our side as possible, so that we could say, we're going to download the Mistral SDK to talk to their provider. And we're going to call that provider, and we're going to rely on the types that they provide to be correct. And so then we will know before we even use it, have we built this correctly? The types line up. And then if something goes wrong, then we can know, okay, we can easily trace where the problem is and then help to contribute a fix if it's necessary into the right place. So that if there's a problem in a Mistral library or a Fireworks AI library or Inception AI library, we can get it patched on their side to help everybody instead of us just patching on our side and then only helping the people using any-llm. I think that's the beauty of the open source ecosystem. We're all just trying to build together, and we rely on people helping to contribute their fixes and their knowledge back. So yeah, that's the long ramble. That is what any-llm, that's why it exists, and that's why we're excited to build it to help give people choice.
Nice. I love that. And I think like the choice aspect, like the choice first stack, empowering developers to choose what LLM they want to use and how and where and when they use it. I think that aligns a lot with how we approach LLM usage at GitHub, because we want to make sure that developers have access to wherever they work, terminal, IDE, on, in the browser. And I think developer choice is something that developers really love. And I just really like the approach. So I'm curious to see how any LLM works, and then I can ask some more questions. So I'm going to pop up your demo here. And if you have any questions in the audience, just pop them in the chat.
Yes, questions are, I don't think I see the comments, so Kadesha, you'll have to let me know if there's questions. But so I tried to put it all in one screen to make this a little bit easier to follow along. So I took a bunch of screenshots of things that I think might be useful. But this is a screenshot of our main documentation page. And here is just like a snippet of the code. And as we've been explaining, the idea is to have the single interface to talk to all the different providers. And it's enough talk. Let's build some stuff. Let's do some demos,
Let's
and
get it.
let's hope the demos all work perfectly as they hopefully do. So let me walk you through what we're going to demo, what I hope to demo today, and we'll see how far we get. So any-llm is a Python SDK. So the first thing I want to talk about is the any-llm SDK in Python. And we're going to do a quick demo to show how you can use this Python SDK to talk to a cloud-based provider. So for the demo I prepared, we're going to talk to the Mistral cloud provider. Then once we get that together, we're going to move and we're going to show how to easily switch from the Mistral provider to a local model run using Mozilla.ai's Llama file project. So Llama file is just a single file that we embed model weights and an executable in, so you can run an LLM locally. So we're going to show you any LLM SDK and how to quickly toggle between Mistral, the cloud provider, and something running locally on my laptop.
Nice.
Then that's all going to go perfectly and nothing is going to go wrong. And then we're going to go and we're going to add another level of complexity. And I'm going to show you how we have another open source project called the any-llm gateway that can sit between the Python library and the model provider to help give enterprises or even you an easy way to consolidate how you're managing your API keys and how you're giving users access and tracking their usage. Okay, so that's where we're going. And if that works perfectly and we make all the way through, then we're going to go even crazier. And we're going to say, what if instead of having the client be the Python SDK, we connected OpenCode, which is a popular open source coding CLI, and we had that talk to the any-llm gateway, which would then talk to Llama file. So this is bold. We'll see how far we get, but we better get started. So,
big plans. Okay, let's go.
Big plans. Yes, so please ask questions or stop me so I don't just ramble on for forever. But the first thing we got to do is we got to install it. And to install the any-llm Python library, I'm using a Python package manager called UV, which if you're not familiar with it, it takes a little bit of time to get up and running. But once you start using it, you will probably fall in love with it, just like I did. And we do a UV pip install any-llm SDK brackets all. And what this is going to do for us is it's going to install the any-llm Python SDK, and it's going to install all of those provider SDKs that we optionally depend on. So if you knew for your project initially that you were only going to talk to Mistral, then you could have just put Mistral in here, and then we would only connect up the provider SDK for Mistral, and you wouldn't be able to add others. But as you go, as you want to support more providers, you can just connect with more of those SDKs. So I already had it installed, so it's going to go really quick for me. And something that I think is so exciting about any-llm is that if anybody thinks that they know what the LLM capabilities are, it may be out of date already. Like, because the world of LLMs is moving so fast, what you thought an LLM was capable of last year is a completely different world. And just like that applies to the leading models, it also applies to some of the smaller models, and we don't think about it often. So that's what I want to focus on today. We're going to only use small models, but we're going to use a small model hosted on the cloud, and we're going to use a small model locally. And instead of a hello world, let's do something a little bit more interesting, which is image identification. So this, if you're not familiar, is the Pittsburgh Penguins, the ice hockey team. And this is a picture of a championship that was won, I believe, in 2017. And now just, I ask everybody that's watching this to think about, what do you expect a small model to be able to understand about this picture? If I asked a model, what's happening here? For this demo, we're going to use a 3 billion parameter model, which the leading like Claude, Sonnet, and Opus GPT models, I don't think anybody knows exactly, but it's in like the trillions of model weights. Like, those are huge. So we're going to use a 3 billion parameter model, which is crazy small. And just think about what you expect that small of a model to be able to pick out of being given this picture? Would you expect image like object recognition? Would you expect
Yeah.
number recognition? Would you expect
Mm.
name recognition? All of those
Mm.
things. You know, how high are your expectations of what a model can do?
I think I would
So
expect it to know that
yeah.
that's a hat, or just like maybe like, I don't know, maybe basic things since it's so
Yeah.
small. I don't know.
Yeah, even the hat, I mean, the hat would be tricky too, because it's like, you know, lifted up backwards. It's
That's
like,
true.
you know, and the numbers are kind of crinkled, and the
Yeah,
name
they're
is kind of like
crinkled.
bent in.
Yeah,
And like
maybe just like
the Stanley
person.
Cup looks kind of like a goblet. So like, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay,
Okay.
so let's get into it. Is this text big enough? Can you read that?
If you could zoom in
Okay.
one more, that would, yeah.
Okay, let's try that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're looking at. This is the Python script, and I put some comments in to try to make it clear what's happening. But for the first example, we're going to talk to the Mistral cloud provider. And I have a Mistral API key set under the hood that I'm not going to show you because you can't use our API key. But it's there, and if you want to use the example, you'll have to have it set yourself. And then the any-llm import that we use is any-llm import completion, and this will give us the chat completion endpoint. And from there, we're going to load up that image I just showed you. And in order to pass images to LLMs, we do something called base64 encoding it. We basically turn what you're seeing as pixels into a super long text string that then the LLM can make sense out of, and they can reassemble on their side. And then it's pretty simple from there, where we specify the model, and we do it in provider model syntax. So we're saying, please talk to the Mistral cloud service, and please send the request to this model in the Mistral cloud service. And then I pass in my list of messages. In this case, we'll keep it simple, and I'll just say, here's the image, and then what do you see in the image? Don't make any assumptions, and write me a motivational poem about it. So it's not, hopefully this will make it so it doesn't go too off the walls trying to guess. It'll just try to describe what it sees. Okay, now everyone cross your fingers. And let's see what's up. All right, here we go. Okay, so
It's
this
pretty
is a 3 billion
fast.
parameter model. It's super fast. This is running on Mistral's service, and we see a hockey player, jersey number
Wow.
87, name Crosby, holding aloft grand trophy, the Stanley Cup, celebrating on the ice amidst a crowd of enthusiastic supporters. And then I'm not going to read the poem aloud. So let's just
grossly
think about that.
underestimated mini
Right?
model here.
Right? I mean, a year ago, I don't know about you guys, but I was in my prompts typing in all caps, please model, I'm begging you, listen to me, please do this one thing. I just really need you to pay attention.
Please.
And yeah, and like now it's come a long ways, and I don't think we have necessarily realized it. But yeah, I mean, we have this small model is doing number recognition, text recognition, object recognition, scene recognition, knowledge retrieval to like understand like what this is, that it's like celebrating. So I think that's pretty exciting. But what I think would be even more exciting is if we didn't use the cloud, if we just sent it to a model running on my computer. And now is where things are going to get really hairy, because I'm going to run it. I'm going to do the dumb thing of trying to run this LLM on my laptop while streaming. And and we're going to see how this goes. So if I just freeze and I leave, then you'll know that Mozilla.ai needs to buy me an upgraded MacBook Pro.
Yes.
But this is actually, so this llama file is a 3 billion parameter, and the llama file that we're going to use, as I said, it's a Mozilla.ai project to take those model weights, which are open weight, so they're shared with the world. You could download them now. And the llama file bundles them into an executable that's one file that you can run anywhere. And there's something called quantization that we did in this llama file. So we basically reduced the size of those weights down to 4 bits to make it a little bit smaller to fit into my computer. So this is a I think it's a 2023 MacBook, and it has somewhere, I think it's 24 gigabytes of RAM, which is not, I mean, it's not massive, but it should be enough to run this Llama file. So I already downloaded it, but we have a Hugging Face organization, Mozilla AI, and we're in active process of upgrading Llama files, but this is where Llama files will generally go. And I will go ahead and run this. So now I'm in my terminal window and I've got the Llama file running. So the Llama file, the Mistral 3B model is now running locally on my MacBook at port 8080. Okay, so now we've got the same LLM running locally with it's quantized, so it's slightly different, but it's basically the same model running locally. And so now let's rerun this script, but let's say, hey, instead of talking to the cloud, we don't need the cloud, let's talk local. And any LLM has the Llama file provider. And because we're using the default settings where we're running it locally on the default port, we don't need to edit anything else. If we were hosting a Llama file, you know, on a different port that wasn't the default port, we could edit some more settings to make that work. But because we're using the defaults, no more work is to be done. I just changed that one string, save the file, and now no more cloud. Let's use this local. So let me clear, and then we're going to run that example again. And now hopefully I don't freeze. No, we're all right. We're doing great.
No, it's running.
And it's a little bit slower because I am not an expensive NVIDIA GPU. I am a MacBook Pro. But look at that. So let's think about what this means here. You're running now on your MacBook a local image recognition model that can take the picture that I showed you and identify numbers and names and objects and write poems about it. I mean, the capabilities for everybody, I think, is just like, you know,
and the privacy.
Yeah, the privacy too. Yeah. Yeah, the stream isn't exactly about just, you know, me raving over how much I love this model, but I think that's part of it, of like, because it's so easy to switch, now you can try these things that before it would be a lot of work maybe to figure out how to talk to something. And yeah, now you have a local model that you can just kind of throw in there and with very little changes make work.
That's really impressive. And it's just a few lines of code. Like the setup, it didn't even take that much to get this running. And I'm so impressed that this 3 billion parameter model is able to see so much within its very small, relatively context window. So tell me something, Nathan.
Let's just for fun, I just took a screenshot of ours. Let's feed the screenshot in and see how it does on just like a random screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, it's gone. You know, these things happen with me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But the question I was going to ask is if someone's watching that's never used a local model before, how do you download a local model? That's a great fast.
Question. Yeah. Okay.
And you're saying this is slow, but to me that is fast.
Yeah. Open Source Friday, a woman and a man were engaged in a technical discussion or demonstration. We got Python code. It's identifying the name of our file. Okay, come on. You gotta be excited about that.
That is really good. That's really good.
Identified the model name. Okay, all right. Anyways, if you want to download a model, and if you've never downloaded a model before, there are several amazing ways to do it now that make it easier than it ever has been. I wouldn't say it's the easiest. There's still ways to go to make it easier, but the big ones that enable downloading models locally are, I'm biased, but I'll say Llama file because it's a Mozilla AI project where literally you go to a website, you download a file, and then no matter what system you're on, Windows, Mac, Linux, you run that one file and you have this LLM running locally. That's all. You download a file, you're good to go.
Nice.
And the other ones are Ollama, which is like, that's another popular application that you can run, and then they have a registry where you just click a button and it will download one for you. And then LM Studio is another big one.
Nice. Hear that, folks? It's easier than ever to run
It's easy
local
than ever.
models, and you don't even need that much compute space. Like, how much? What does it take to run a model on your computer? Like, how much? Like,
Yeah.
what type of setup do you need here?
I think I'm at 34. I have a 34 gigabyte. I haven't read top in a while, but I don't have an
Not that
insanely big
much.
laptop. Yeah, and um, I don't remember exactly how much this one took to load, but not an insane amount. I'd say, give it a try, and you'll find out fast if it's big enough
Yeah.
or not.
Like, is
If
it
it
harder
will
to
run or
run?
it won't.
It seems like it's harder to run Android Studio over a local LLM on your machine. I don't know if you've built like mobile apps. Like sometimes the Android Studios just takes so long to power up, and it requires so much space. That was a joke. It didn't land. It's
Yeah.
okay. But
It's only because I'm an iOS guy. If you had said Xcode
got
is so
you.
slow, that would be like,
Xcode,
yeah,
yes, Xcode.
there you
Yeah,
go.
easier to run Xcode. It's easier to run a local model than Xcode.
Yes, exactly.
Ha ha ha! The
It's
cloud,
easier to run
cloud
than
works.
Claudebot.
Listen, let's not talk about the
Yeah.
Claude bots. We did do a stream with Claudebot
Yeah,
last week. It was
I love
quite
it. And
good.
he said that it was hard, so I'm not
Yeah.
making stuff up.
So tell me more about the llama file. Is this something that's auto-generated by any LLM? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a different project, so it is a different repository in our organization, and
Uh-huh.
people contribute llama files. So if you're somebody that wants to contribute, you say, I want this model, and I'm going to bundle this up as an executable for people. And then you compile it together and you share it, and then anybody can download it.
Nice, nice. And how does any LLM, I guess I want to understand the configuration, the architecture of it. Like, how does any LLM knows the provider model? Like, what does that look like behind the scenes?
Yeah, the kind of the technical guts behind the scenes is that when we take this, there's a couple of different ways to specify what provider and model you're going to use. So what I could have done instead is I could have just put the model here and then put the provider here. So we give you a couple different ways of how you want to specify the provider and model. But what we do is we have our logic to figure out which part is the provider and which part is the model ID. And then in the any-llm code, we load the module for that provider. So if
Okay.
you're using Mistral, we have the Mistral SDK that we load at runtime when we decide that you need it.
Mm-hmm. And how does any LLM handle if, let's say, an error you make a request and then there's an error? What does that look like?
It'll throw it back as an exception. I think that we'll actually be able to see it throw an error through the gateway demonstration. The next part of the demo, I actually have it so that we'll make it throw an error, and then you can kind
Uh-huh.
of see how it comes back to you.
Nice. Okay, so I do have some audience questions here. Are you guys finding this as interesting as I am? I'm making so many notes. Okay, so what if there's a critical issue that needs to be fixed immediately? Relying only on OSS contributions might not be as fast as expected. Rollbacks could also be very costly. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's kind of like a general open source question, but I think the GitHub mechanism of doing forks can help to speed this up. So if you're using any LLM and there's some critical issue that you need patched immediately, then you could fork the library, make the patch yourself, and then deploy that for your own use cases. And then because of the GitHub forking mechanism, you could contribute that patch back on your own time, basically. And we've done that with providers as well ourselves. Sometimes we're like, we see a problem, we need it fixed immediately, so we'll make the patch, we'll pull it into our code, and then we'll put a pull request on their side, and then they can merge it through their process.
Cool. And are there any plans for other versions of this apart from Python?
That's in the works.
Okay. So how do you benchmark multi-model open source models fairly when vision encoders differ across backends?
Vibes, which is a terrible answer. It's a terrible answer. I think benchmarks are the hard part because yeah, benchmarks are just the hard part. When you're training a model on the entire internet, and then you're trying to benchmark a model against a piece of the internet, it's really hard to get a fair test of that in general. I think it makes having your own private data sets more important than ever. Like, in order to tell which model is the best for you, you kind of need to have your own data set to test it that the LLM has not seen. And then having a mechanism like any-llm to try all of them quickly is what's going to help enable you to make the decision for yourself. And I think that ties into the Mozilla and Mozilla.ai ethos of choice. Like, we're just trying to help you be able to try everything quickly so that you can make the best decision for you.
Yeah, nice. So we have Mike here says, ironically, I've been looking at this, just hadn't started. Running locally means your data on your local machine becomes what it consumes, or is Llama trained with a set of data before installing locally? I think he's asking.
Yes, yeah. I think there's two pieces to it. So it could be, you could train it on your own data, and there's a lot of libraries and mechanisms to help you train. These are designed, the Llama files currently are designed so that you will download something and you'll use it locally, but you won't train it with your own data by default. But there's also the setup of like context, where if you put all the text in the LLM and you keep it in what's called as context window, then it will still know about it. But yeah, generally you're not like retraining a model, at least for a Llama file.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see LLMs becoming production ready for SMEs this year? SMEs? Subject matter experts? Is that what you
Subject
mean?
matter experts. Subject matter experts for what domain?
For what?
But
yeah,
of course,
for what
yes.
domain?
Yeah, open source, of course.
Of course.
Was it last week or just earlier this week that is it Kimi 2.5?
Yes.
I forget if there's another postfix. That is now basically competitive with Opus 4.5. I think it's a little lower. So it's kind of here, I think open source is basically caught up, where it's not a huge difference anymore.
Cool. And what would you say is the correct abstraction level for like retry logic, provider, client, or application layer?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we definitely took the approach of not putting that into any LLM to make it really customizable. So, for example, like if you want retry logic for your application, you may have very specific rules about when you want to retry or when you don't. So we don't provide an input parameter to say retry 3 times. We give you back an error code if it doesn't work, and then you can decide how many times you want to retry or what you want to do with that different type of error. So we try to make it a very lightweight wrapper. We don't want to make this library big. We want to make it useful. And if it gets too big, it might not be as useful.
Wow. And so any LLM truly means any LLM, like it supports all LLMs and their providers?
That's the goal, is to support all the providers. And I mean, here's where it's open source. So we certainly don't support all providers yet, because we don't know about all providers. So and there's obviously some, like, we need to have some bar where like we only support a provider if it has a certain amount of adoption, probably. But that's the goal, to support all the providers.
Cool beans. I know earlier, before we came on stream, you were telling me about a side project that you wanted to show off. Do you want to do that or no?
Yeah. I think if we keep on going on the demo, then we'll see where we get. There's another step that I think is exciting to talk about. That if you all aren't tired of looking at code and watching this work, I'd like to show off another thing.
Never tired of the code.
Music to my ears. Okay, so the next step, where I said we were going, to go back to this README, is now we're going to put something in between the Python SDK and the model provider. So I think any-llm is really fun for experimenting and easily switching providers. But a really common use case that I've been hearing and seeing from talking to people is having a abstraction layer between the user and the providers. So pretty soon, if you're a system administrator and if you have a person that's like, I want to talk to OpenAI and Anthropic and Gemini and Mistral, and then you give them 6 API keys, and then you manage 6 API keys, and then somebody comes to you and says, I want that too. You generate another 6, and you give them 6, and you're pretty soon managing a bazillion API keys for people, or you're giving everyone the same API keys, and then you don't know who's using what. So that's what any-llm gateway is trying to help solve for people. It's a proxy layer that sits in between, where then you configure the keys in this server, and you create virtual keys for a user, and then you can give that user a budget, you can give that user access to certain things, and then you give them one virtual, what we call a virtual key, and then they just use that one key, talk to the gateway, and they can talk to all their models through the gateway, and then you as the administrator can track how much they've used, and you can also cut them off when they've spent all of your budget, or as much of budget as you want them to have. And that's the idea of the gateway. So I think that was the main thing. Oh, and we also have a platform that we're working on as well, that some of the concerns from the gateway you could have is that, well, what if I don't want to send all of my data through the gateway? Like, not everybody likes a proxy server because somebody could be listening on the proxy server. We also are working on something called the any-llm platform, where we don't, it's a space that we host where you can ship usage information like number of tokens, response times, and stuff like that, but not actually send any of the data that you're sending in LLM. So then you can deal with routing internally or whatever, and only store usage data somewhere else. So then you don't even need to proxy. So I won't demo that in this presentation, but just as a side note, that's also
Very nice.
an option.
Yeah, very, very nice. As you were speaking, I was wondering about, does any LLM have support for MCP or connecting more external data in that way?
Yeah, it's another good question. I think this my coworker David he's been preaching this message for almost a year now, that everything is just a tool, and MCPs in the end become a tool. And so any LLM supports tools, and any LLM doesn't create tools from MCPs for you. So Mozilla.ai actually has another project called MCPD, which helps you manage your tools, or you manage your MCP servers. And then using that tool, you could help to manage your MCP servers and then pass those tools into any LLM as the SDK.
Gotcha.
So we support MCPs in as much as we support all tools. And if you turn it into a function call or a function specification, we'll support it for you.
It will work. Yeah. I see API keys on the screen.
Okay. These are just local. So
okay.
This won't do anything. They're just virtual. Y'all can steal these keys as much as you'd like. You can run your own Mistral model to scrape these keys from the image, and they won't do anything for you. So yeah, I'll run this demo real quick. So what I did here is I deployed the gateway, and I created a user key, a virtual user key, and I created an administrator key, and I created a budget for this virtual user, where I said this virtual user can spend $1, and then I made Llama file the most expensive model you've ever used in your life. I configured it in the gateway to say it's very expensive. So then we're going to make a request through the gateway to Llama file, and then we're going to see that user's usage increase, and then we're going to actually see them go over their budget and then be rejected on the next call. So let's go ahead and run 2, And then this should hopefully all run if everything works okay. Okay, so this ran. So I just made a request as this virtual user. I'm gonna skim over the code a little bit just for the sake of time. And then I'm gonna run a request as the admin. And I'm gonna look for this demo user that we created and see, because I configured Llama file to be very expensive. He spent 80 cents writing that poem. He just loves Pittsburgh so much, he spent a lot making that poem. So now we're going to make the same request again. We're going to ask for another poem. And then I'm going to do the usage tracking again. And I set his budget to be $1, and I set it on a rotation of 24 hours. So he went over budget. So now if he tries to make a third request, he is going to get an error. And this is referring to your previous question. How do the errors come back? It'll come back as a exception in Python, and it'll print out this detail for you. So you'll now see this user has exceeded the budget limit.
Yeah. Nice error messaging.
All right. Thank you. All right. Should we get really crazy? Should we get really crazy before we run out of time? Okay. So now we're going to go wild. We're going to add this into OpenCode. So OpenCode is, I'll just show their splash screen where to put it. They're very popular coding CLI, similar to GitHub Copilot CLI and Claude Code and all that. And what we're going to do is we're going to configure OpenCode to talk to our gateway. And I'm going to need to copy this virtual key. I already configured this. For sake of time, I'll kind of skim over the details. But basically, I have this virtual key, which again, this virtual key connects to my local system. This doesn't do anything. This is just disposable.
No?
And this, we configured OpenCode to have this provider, the gateway, local, and it's going to be hosted here, and it's going to have the Mistral model and the Ollama model.
Yeah.
Ooh, and I will, if I made the request now, it would be out of budget, so the OpenCode would throw an error. So I will go ahead and bump, I already wrote a script to bump that person's budget up by $1. So this user is now free again to use the service. So we updated this, and now we're going to run. This is like the pet project I've been working on, which is basically just a Claude Code session manager. So this helps you manage all of your sessions, and we'll connect it to OpenCode, and then it'll launch in. And first we can talk to the Ollama, and we'll pass in the image and say, what is this?
What is happening right now?
Hope this works. This is so OpenCode is connected.
No, I know.
The gateway.
I'm just, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But that worked. Okay. So now that was Ollama, and then we'll go back and we'll make a new one, and we'll have this one talk to Mistral, and we'll switch models, and we'll ask it about, what was that other one? We'll ask it about the screenshot.
One, yeah.
These people super cool. I hope it doesn't hallucinate. No. Are they cool? They are engaged. All right, they're cool. They are not super cool in a literal sense.
They probably
You are wrong. They are very cool.
The roasting. Okay. The roasting.
But anyways, okay, so I made it through everything, guys. We did it.
Yay.
And then the kind of the beauty of this is that now you could go back, and if we exit that and we ran that script again to see usage tracking, you'll see this person's usage went up because we were using OpenCode. So now we as the user, I talked through the any-llm SDK, and I talked through OpenCode, and all of that spending was tracked in one place for the user, for the admins to be able to see, which I think is cool.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. And so easy to use as well. I think how what do you think about when you think about the difference between any LLM and another project like LangChain? What would you say are the differences or the similarities between those two projects, if you're familiar with LangChain?
Yeah, yeah. It's a good question. LangChain is sort of one level higher in abstraction. So like LangChain
Okay.
is kind of a agent framework,
Mm-hmm.
wherein the agent framework has plugins to talk to model providers,
Mm-hmm.
and any LLM would be one of those plugins. So a newsreader from our team is currently working on the LangChain any LLM integration, so that soon people will be able
Ah.
to use any LLM inside of LangChain. Um, and we have another Mozilla AI project is called any-agent, which is, you guessed it, one interface to talk to any agent framework. And
Mm-hmm.
LangChain is one of those frameworks supported by any agent.
Incredible. What are some interesting or any use cases that you've seen devs or anyone using any LLM for?
I mean, I think it's really to enable the switching quickly between local and
Yeah,
and remote.
cloud.
One thing about open source, especially in the in maybe the beginning and middle, is that you mostly just hear about the failure cases through issue reports. You know, we've just been starting to get up and running with some better tracking of all the successes. But in the open source, you get the like, oh, there's this one corner case that doesn't work. So
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people using it, and I've seen what's cool is you get confirmation that they're using a broad variety of the providers. Um, this is a long-winded way of saying I'm not exactly sure which use cases have been like the
Yeah,
most exciting.
yeah, nice. I guess it's like all like subjective too, depending on what you
Yeah,
consider to be interesting. Okay, so is
absolutely.
your demo available on GitHub?
Oh yeah, sure. We have it private in the Mozilla AI repo right now, but there's no problem with pushing it public.
Yeah. And you can go to gh.io/any-llm to go to the any LLM repo and give it a go yourself and possibly, like use your own local LLM on your machine because the machines we have, as long as you have what, like 24, you said like 24 or 32 gigs.
24, 32,
It's
something like that.
enough.
Yeah,
It's enough
it's enough.
slices to
Yeah.
to get things going. Okay. So, what would you say your favorite small or medium models as we wrap up here? For
Ooh,
a
yeah, that's a
36
great
gigabyte
question.
laptop, yeah.
Um, so I think for the image, the Mistral has been a lot of fun just for image recognition. I have a little Mac Mini running at home with LM Studio that I run some other models on. And
Okay.
no, I didn't get it just for Claudebot. I had it before. um, and I've really been liking the Quen. I think it's the Quen 30 billion parameter model, and the GPT OSS 20 billion parameter model is really great.
Nice.
Those have been
Very,
some of my
very
favorites.
great. Yeah. This is very cool, Nathan. This is all very cool, very interesting. It's such an incredible time to be a developer, to be an engineer, to be a machine learning
Yeah,
engineer.
to be a
Um,
builder, your
I
ideas
know
have
it's
never been easier to bring to life. It's amazing.
I know it's incredible. And I think like the thing that I think we need to focus on as developers now is just like, okay, what problem am I solving like with this tool that I'm building? Because I think that's where the real impact is going to be. But
Yeah.
before I get on a soapbox, any any last words that you want to say to the folks?
Yeah, keep building. It's, as you said, a super exciting time to be a software developer because it's never been easier to bring the ideas and great ideas you have to life. So uh, give any-llm a try and let us know what you think. And let's keep building together.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm gonna popcorn you down. And what a great project, folks. Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it any LLM so much, but I'm super excited to get into it and start using it, especially because we can use those local models with it. And the local models, as you saw, are very, very capable and performant. They've definitely improved a lot over the past few years. But thank you so much for watching Open Source Friday. I'm gonna go ahead and say, happy weekend, and we shall see you next week. Bye.